I'm Gloria.
And I'm Mari.
Just two women trying to inspire ourselves
and others.
Okay, so our last two episodes of the season are about issues that I think most of us have gone through or are going through.
Yes, exactly. If you're a woman and you've had, you understand changes. So today we're going to talk a little bit about those changes. So if you've had children and you're a mom, you definitely understand what we're going to talk about today, postpartum, like the changes that we as women go through after becoming a mom, and I know I personally was not, I wasn't ready for some of those things. I feel like as moms or, as new moms, you've heard of a lot of things. You hear about the lack of sleep. You hear about, all the newborn stuff. But you don't necessarily hear or have your friends talk to you about, the physical things that you yourself will go through. Yeah. And I remember being surprised by a lot of them. I don't know about you. But I know it's been a little bit longer for you.
I just think that for me, the whole, I think postpartum used to have such a stigma to it.
Right. That
it wasn't something, women either felt they could admit because, whatever the reason was, whether it was, back in the day, that was your job to stay at home, be a mom, take care of the children. So I think that if you admitted that you were going through those hormonal shifts and internal issues, whether it was depression or anxiety when you were dealing with the baby and after having given birth, that you were just looked upon like you weren't doing your job.
Right.
So I think that may be one of the reasons it has such a stigma. So now you hear people talk about it a lot more openly.
Yes.
And it's a lot more normal thing. But I know that even, with some of the men in my own family at the time when I had the girls, some of them were like, that's not true. That's a myth. Right. Postpartum is not real.
Yeah.
That's just women exaggerating.
It's baby blues or whatever. Yeah. Yes.
And, in retrospect, I look back now and I honestly think that I did suffer from postpartum. Yet I didn't realize it at the moment.
Right.
And I know you went through it obviously a lot more recently than me. So what are some of the things that you feel you went through?
So, with Julian, I don't think I had that postpartum, the baby blues. I never felt like that. I was very blessed that I didn't have that feeling. I didn't have postpartum depression but what I do think that I didn't realize that even if you don't have that, there is this fog that you can feel. And I didn't realize it until the fog lifted that I was feeling that. And I remember when I stopped nursing, or I pumped exclusively with him, but when I finally stopped pumping, it was all of a sudden one day I woke up and I felt kind of
there was a shift.
Yes. And I was whoa. It was literally like a fog had lifted. And I do remember also there was we were on a cruise when he was 10 months old, and I went into it was one of those showers, those different rain showers that some of those spas on the cruise ships have. And we were on a Disney cruise, and it said it was a cold shower to lift the fog. And I'm not joking, Gloria. I went in there, and that cold water hit me, and it was literally that was one of the first times I was oh my gosh. I felt this awakening. And I really felt that postpartum era took a lot longer than I thought. I thought, I had the night sweats after you give birth. It's okay,
right.
Okay, my hormones, everything takes 6 to 10, months to go back into place, or they tell you 6 months until the hormones are out of your body. Okay, but then it was those that little, it was almost a mental fog, and then with Selena, I do feel looking back, I didn't realize it in the midst of it, but I feel I did have a little bit of that postpartum blues, Even as simple as I there's something happened while I was at the hospital with another mom that it gave me a lot of anxiety. And so then even simple things like I remember not wanting to hold her as much as I like with Julian. I couldn't have him on me enough. But with her, it was like I was a little bit more anxious. I didn't nurse her until she was 4 months. I pumped, but I didn't nurse her. And it was like little things like that I noticed later on. I was like, I think I definitely had some postpartum. I wasn't like crying a lot. I wasn't really like, but it was subtle things that I think, I recognized it and I was like, okay, maybe I just need to talk to a friend. And I remember one day sitting out and like talking all the emotions of what I felt like of the day of my delivery and like kind of almost like survivor's guilt, because a mom had passed away giving birth the same day that I delivered her. And I felt like almost, and she had a child at home like the same age as Julian, and she had a little girl just like Celina's little girl. So I had almost like this like weird like survivor's guilt even though I didn't know her. And it gave me like anxiety as a mom again. And so I just think that those are things that we're talking about them a lot more now. But it's still not even super talked about, and I'm seeing like I have 2 cousins that gave birth this year, and they're realizing like sometimes it's until you're there, it's really hard to explain some of the emotions that you feel as a new mom or as a second time mom, or it's hard to explain like what you're feeling to somebody who's not been through it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you felt like did you have like certain mom friends that you would reach out to, or a lot when the girls were little or were first born, or people that you felt like you leaned on more and that you maybe...
I had moms that
or you had your sister too. I don't know if you...
I had moms that I did activities with, but not really opened up about those emotions. When I started opening up about what I would honestly, because I felt the depression and I felt it with both, but I think, I didn't open up to people about it until my girls, and in fact it wasn't until the little one was in pre-K.
Wow.
Because it was someone that I had gone to school with, and her son happened to be with my daughter in pre-K. And one day it came up in conversation, and she told me a story, and I'll never forget this. She mentioned to me thoughts that went through her mind, literally about escaping the entire motherhood situation. And she told me she didn't seek help from a doctor until she found herself in a car wishing that there was a way to end things, to just not be in this constant.
Wow.
And when she, sometimes I think about the fact that motherhood, when I think about what she said, and then I think about being a new mom, I think one of the things that shock us the most is like you don't, no matter how much you want a child, it's like once you have a child, like that's your life. There's no, I don't want to call it escaping, but you know what I mean? Like that's
you never stop being a mom.
That's really your whole world.
Yeah, you never stop being.
No matter how wonderful it is, it's your whole world. It's your entirety at that point. And it becomes like, an analogy would be like being on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Like you're just going, and if you get off, like you're gonna freak out because who's gonna do it? It's like that constant going, and you don't see an end to it. And for me, I think my feelings of depression, I kept them to myself because we have someone in the family that suffered from depression, like severe depression, and had to get medical help for it. And it's always been a fear of mine, like when I would have those feelings, like what if that's in me? What if I can't get past it? So it wasn't something I opened up to anybody at the time about, because it was a fear I had, like what if this is real?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just kept it quiet.
Absolutely.
And how I got past it, I don't know. I because I never went to see someone about it. And I think it's like you say, like, for me, it wasn't like a fog that just lifted, but somehow your hormones do balance out, thankfully.
Right.
And you get through it.
It's so interesting because, obviously, like, I lost, so since I had lost the twins before having Julian, I think part of me was like, with him, I had this mentality the whole time of like, when I lost them, it was simple things. I remember that October, because I was due in October and I lost them in May. I remember like wishing for like baby cries, or wishing for like the things that like I thought would maybe annoy me. Like I was like wishing for them. So when
What do you
Julie,
mean by baby cries?
like I would wish to hear a baby crying because it would mean that my babies were alive.
Oh.
And so when Julian was born, every time he would cry, I would like be so grateful that it didn't bother me. And so like I do feel like that part of it, like and so a lot of times I challenge my friends that are going through really difficult moments. I'm like, I know that what you're going through right now in this moment, it's really, really hard. It's really hard. But like to give them a new thought, like the new thought that I was given that new thought, not, I wouldn't have wished for the new thought, but it was a perspective based on my circumstances. Every time he cried, I would just be like, oh my God, I have a crying baby. Like I would just like, so I think by the time Selena came around, it's not that I had forgotten, because you don't forget, but yeah, I was like in that hamster wheel of what you're saying.
Right, because you had Julian and...
Right, and then I was so worried about like him and his transition as the older sibling and like the jealousy things that like, I think I had forgotten. I had forgotten that posture of gratitude that I had with him. And a really good friend of mine, like what finally like prompted me, I think, and kind of snapped me out of that like mini depression I was having of not wanting to hold her and like things like that. A friend of mine sent me a Bible verse to remind me. She's like, I want to remind you, like, you prayed for this baby. I want to remind you of like how, like, I prayed with you for this baby. I want to remind you. She sent me a screenshot of a text that I had sent her. I know. Saying like, I know it's a little girl, because I know this is a little girl that God had promised me. Like before I knew she was a girl, like all these things. And she's like, I just want to remind you, like, this is the gift that you prayed for. And like you prayed for, like you've been praying for this gift for a long time. And so in the difficult moments, like she challenged me. She's much older than me. She's older than both of us. She's a grandmother already. And she's like, she has 4 children. So it's not like if she doesn't know. And so, she's like, I remember being in it with like, she was, but I want to challenge, I want to be that person in your life that gives you that challenge to like, remember that gratitude, remember the prayers, and so she gave me like a verse to like hold on to, and, and so I started singing. There was a song that I started singing whenever I felt like that. I would just sing that song like quietly to myself, and it gave me like peace, surprisingly. Because I think that is like an important thing too. And but I have so many friends that have gone through postpartum depression who did need help and needed to talk to professionals and take even medication.
Right.
Because it was beyond. Because like what your friend is describing, those are feelings that you've got to find a way past, and really seek medical help, because I've had friends who've called their moms in the middle of the night, like, I don't know what I'm going to do right now, and I need you to come.
Right.
And that's really hard.
No, and the thing is, I think that's probably the most important thing to, like, if there's any message that we share, obviously I was never to that point. I never had to, seek anything, but those feelings they come at so many different levels.
Yeah.
And we cannot like be afraid to share them.
Right.
Like I wish I would have felt the way I feel now. And I think, like how you reached out to your friend, that was enough for you,
Right.
And her support the words that she would give you, the way that you found, like the song, when you said how you would sing that to yourself, it was like a form of meditation for you, you know, whether it's in prayer, whether it's in meditation, whether it's in just giving yourself a timeout. You know, like I remember when I was breastfeeding my first one, like I went to a breastfeeding support group because
I had a lactation consultant.
She had a very difficult time latching on. Like, I honestly wish that it was more common to have a postpartum support group and that women heard about it more. You know, maybe it's because I'm out of the loop and maybe that's a more common
It is a little bit more
now.
common today.
But to have, like, for that to just be the norm that...
But even if though it's more common, there's still a lot of, like, shame around it. Which is the thing that I think needs to change. There is shame that I feel this way, that I don't feel an instant attachment to my child. Or there's a shame that I'm having these
time
feelings.
For yourself.
Yes. There's a shame that, like, I think about what my life was like before, you know. Listen, it comes with so much, you know, like you can't just leave the house when you want to. You can't just, and you know, you can't just shower when you want to shower. You can't just lay down and go to sleep when you want to go to sleep. Like there's like so many things that come with that. And I do think that that shame is what keeps people or keeps women from reaching out to get the help that they need, whether it's from a friend, whether it's from somebody who's been through it, whether it's from a doctor. Because like when you go to your 6-week postpartum now, and I don't know if this was with you, they make you fill out a questionnaire.
Right.
But I mean, really? Also, some of the questions on there, can we just talk about that? I want to talk to maybe some OBGYNs will hear this. Are you crying more? I'm like, first of all, just, you know, sometimes, I'm crying because I'm like, I haven't slept. You know, like, I mean, some of those questions are, like, not even relevant. You know, I'm like, are you like, sleeping well? No, I have a newborn. I have a 6-week-old. I'm not sleeping well. You know, like, some of them are, like, obviously not, you know? And I'm just like, I don't think that these questions really... get to the heart of it, you know? Some of them are like, are you crying without ceasing? Okay, well, yeah, maybe that question. But some of those questions I was feeling to sound like this is not, like this, of course I am, you know, like, so I think there has to be more. It's just, you know, how can we remove the shame or like that veil of shame from it so that women feel like they can, and the support group is like, I'm sure there are, but I don't even really...
You know, I will tell you one thing. I actually recently have been in 2 OBGYN offices that are new to me. Because, you know, sometimes I go to the offices and put up some of my photography. Yes. And, you know, there's 2 of them actually, the 2 that I'm collaborating with at the moment. I will tell you that I've noticed... they do have like workshops for women, and they have, you know, one of them, it's the Mom Center in Kendall, and they have like the Women's Center, and they do educational workshops, and they talk about things like that, you know. So I find that some of the medical professionals are finding that need for women, and they're starting to offer it because I think they are realizing it's not something that's such an open discussion, and that women need to know this is normal.
Right.
This is normal, and have that resource.
Yes.
In a place that they already feel comfortable.
That's what I was going to say. Like that they would go to, that they're going to, that they've been going to. And also I think sometimes you feel safer sharing with people who don't know you. It's just... to be honest, than with people who do know you. It's like there's certain things you don't want to admit to people who do know you well, or because you don't want them to have, you know, that thought or whatever. I think sometimes it's just easier to tell a stranger than in at a workshop in your doctor's office than it is to even your friends.
Right, because you kind of figure you're not going to see them again.
Right, which is easier. So, I mean, I think that part of it is really... that's like a very, you know, important part and piece of postpartum. And obviously we want to encourage anybody who if you're feeling those feelings, you know, to talk to someone, to talk to your doctor, to talk to, you know, a friend maybe who's been there. Maybe you know someone who's gone through postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, and, you know, to reach out to them, to seek that help, to seek that support, because you don't have to go through it alone.
Yeah, I think that's key, to just not do what I did, which was keep it to myself. And thankfully it wasn't to an extreme, but I think being able to speak about it starts giving you comfort, and just the fact that you realize that this is normal makes a big difference.
Right.
So.
Okay, so can we talk about like a postpartum change that maybe was funny that you didn't think, or like that you didn't?
Well, obviously you have one by the
Well, I'm
question
thinking about like
and
the
way you're
hair
looking at
loss.
me.
Oh
my gosh! Now that you say the hair loss, listen. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh,
I don't know if to go up to the camera. So my niece-in-law always sends me on Instagram, like, my daughters think we're ridiculous because we're constantly sending like ridiculous things on Instagram, and they say that's what I do all day long with her.
Okay.
So one of the things, have you seen like all the posts? Look, I see you have it right.
Oh yeah, like my baby hairs.
Look
like,
at the camera.
You can tell I've had a baby in the last couple years because
no,
look at
but
this.
I still have it. It doesn't
Oh,
go
you
away.
do? Oh,
wait,
great.
let me see. Do you see any? Okay,
Like right here. Here's one.
Okay, so if I pick up my hair and I don't hairspray it,
yeah, me too.
You see these little hairs sticking out, and literally I never had this. This was after my children.
Yeah, that's why they call them baby hairs. Yeah, no, I have them too. And it's so funny because, like, I had those, like, power alleys.
The real way to know someone had a child. Like, check to see if they have the little hair sticking out.
I had those power alleys after Celine. Like, with Julian, it was crazy. But it was, like, I'm like, oh, my gosh, all my hair is falling out. All my hair is falling out. I remember being in the shower one day and seeing all this. I was like, oh, my gosh. But the funny thing is that nobody told me it comes, like, a few months later. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to lose my hair. And then at 4 months, all of a sudden, it was just like hair everywhere. There's hair everywhere. And I was like, nobody tells you your whole head of hair is going to fall out, you know? And you're going to have power alleys. You're going to have to brush your hair differently. Yeah, and then the baby hairs. That's so funny.
Oh,
I'm going to be investing a lot of hairspray. I comb like my hair differently now because of it. It's like ridiculous,
so
you know?
I don't know, but like funny, I don't know. I mean, that makes me laugh because you see it all over.
I know,
social
the memes
media.
are so true, yes.
So it's like you see it and you're like, yeah, been there, still have them. You know, I don't know how many years,
Did your shoe size change?
18 years later. No. I will tell you, I was very upset because you know how like women, when they get pregnant and they breastfeed, like their boobs get huge?
Yeah.
That never happened to me.
Oh, really?
I was so upset. I wanted
best
big boobs.
I had
never
the best,
got the big boobs.
I had the best nursing, like that, like engorged boob that you don't have to.
That would happen to me if like I skipped a feeding.
Right.
It would happen for like, I don't know, 30 minutes. I'd be like,
oh.
But that was it?
That's so funny. No, my boobs actually shrunk after nursing. Oh,
my feet didn't change, but my sisters did.
Yeah, my shoe size changed too. That was like, also, like nobody ever talks about that. I went up like half a shoe size. I used to be 7.5, now I'm an 8. It's like so funny. I know. It's just like, there's things that you're like, okay.
It's crazy what our body does.
I know.
Okay, so then
I know.
After this,
I know. Our next topic.
Goodness gracious. Yep. We're going to talk about the other change that's happening more to me than to her.
She's preparing me for what's coming down the line.
So, anyhow,
change.
yeah, we're going to be talking about perimenopause, menopause, and all the fun things that come along with it.
I'm so excited. Okay. All right. Well, we can't wait to see you next time. Tune in to learn all things menopause.
Great. Always awesome.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.